Welcome to the first ever On the Spot review that's a double feature because I saw two movies. The first movie was Suburbicon. Suburbicon is a movie directed by George Clooney. It's also written by the Coen brothers. This movie I had really low expectations going in. I didn't know what I was expecting with this movie. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed this movie. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 28%, and it just didn't do very well with reviews. But for me, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. It was interesting. It captured my interest. I was engaged from start to finish. It had some issues that I will address in this review as well. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I think it was worth checking out if you have really nothing else to see. If you're just kind of I don't know what to see, go check this movie out. I don't think you'll be disappointed with this movie. So ultimately, if you're asking me what review I would kind of give it a 7 out of 10. It's kind of average. It doesn't really do anything that blows your mind. It doesn't really do anything that will really make you think about the movie when you leave. But you will enjoy yourself enough to be like, okay, this is a worthy film. The music is okay. It's nothing too amazing. The acting is good. I like the actors. I like Matt Damon in this movie. He's really good in this movie, actually. The kind of character that he portrays is very interesting and very engaging in a lot of the scenes. The setting is actually really good. I like the 1950s. I think the aesthetic is pleasing. It suits the kind of the story that it's trying to tell. And I really think it helps you kind of sit through this movie and really take in the setting. It really complements the story. Now I'll go into spoilers from here on out, so if you want to get into my next review or when the spoilers end, I'll put the link in the description below if you just want to skip ahead. Alright, spoiler time, baby. The story is following Matt Damon and his family. There's one fateful night, they get robbed. These gangsters come in, they start robbing the place, and amongst all of this, they end up killing the mother, the wife of Matt Damon. They kill her, and after that, Matt Damon is left with his son and the sister-in-law. Throughout this whole movie, you're wondering what's going on. The cops are trying to investigate who robbed them, who killed the wife, and all this kind of stuff after the funeral and all that. So, they go to the police station. Matt Damon sees all the people all the suspects, and does not figure out the ones who actually did the murder. They were there in the lineup to reveal slowly but surely that Matt Damon was involved in his wife's killing. He planned it out so he could cash in on her life insurance, and he can go off with the sister-in-law and the son to Aruba. That is a very kind of Fargo-esque story, and that's kind of what this movie kind of gave off. It gave off a Fargo vibe to me. However, in Fargo, the movie, the night guard in that movie, I can't remember his name unfortunately, but he was very incompetent in that movie. He was kind of goofy, stumbling about, not knowing necessarily what he was doing, with what he was trying to accomplish, while Matt Damon in this movie kind of knew what he was trying to do, and he kind of knew how to go about it, which is very interesting and very a different change of pace, because the whole time I was expecting Matt Damon to be a character that I would root for, but the more you get into the movie, the less Matt Damon feels heroic and the more sinister he feels, because he played a lot of things out, to the point where near the end of the movie, he was willing to kill his son if his son was not willing to go along with his plan to cash in on the wife's life insurance and so on. During the course of the movie, the health insurance that she was insured with started to investigate these claims, started to wonder if there's a scam going on, which the health insurance guy was really on point with figuring out until he ended up getting killed in the movie, which led to a very interesting scene because in this part he was willing to let it slide if he gets paid the full amount of the life insurance, otherwise he would turn them in. Because he had leverage in that scene, because he knew right then and there that they were scamming the health insurance and he could actually get them in trouble with the police. He knew he could get away with it, So it wasn't like, oh well, they have the upper hand as well, or it's an equal playing field. The health insurance guy definitely did have some form of leverage. The only thing was that felt kind of apart was, Matt Damon tells him, "I could kill you right now. What's to stop me?" And he's just like saying, "Well, if you kill me, then they're gonna send another one out, and they're gonna definitely know this is for sure a scam because it's gonna be weird that they send someone out to this house and they die there. It'd be kind of weird." But really, they kill him and nothing ever goes on from that. But by that point in the movie, the events start to pick up. It starts to move really fast, but it doesn't seem that anyone really has thought that way through. It's interesting because it's very spontaneous in this movie, and I think that's what was the better parts of the movie was that that everything that was going on felt kind of spontaneous and out of control in a way that it naturally would. Well, Matt Damon's character was more collected, and he kind of knew what he was trying to do and trying to guide everything to go towards. The movie also kind of tells a parallel story or a B story that was kind of not necessary, but I think overall it added in a lot of ways that kind of made you think about some stuff because this other part of the movie, these black characters move in, and no one in this neighborhood wants them because there's this big racial tension. They're the only black family in the entire neighborhood, and the white people in that neighborhood felt threatened, and they didn't like that they were there, and they started to freak out about it. So they signed petitions, they started protesting, and it was interesting in the sense that you have Matt Damon and his family doing this crime, doing this kind of scheming and conning of the life insurance policy, a lot of murder going on, and instead of that being the focus of the police or the investigation, they're all directed to the black family. And I think that's interesting in the time frame that it's set in. It's not set in right now. It's set in the 1950s where there was this big tension about these racial equalities that were going on back then. And I think it was interesting to see how everyone was diverted to them and focused on them more than the actual family that was causing all this crime and murder and death. This family was just minding their own business. They lived a normal life. They didn't do anything that was out of the ordinary. They weren't doing anything criminal. It was Matt Damon's family that was doing all the criminal activities, and the cops weren't really focused on them as they were with the other family because there's all these riots and all this violence directed towards that family for racial reasons. And by the end of the movie, I think the ending, as much as I'm not a big fan of the ending, because the ending kind of feels empty to me, because it ends with Matt Damon finally kind of admitting or confessing to his son that, yes, I did plan your mother's death. I was going to do all this stuff, and now this is our new con that we're going to be doing. We're going to be trying to tell them that these gangsters came in and killed all these people in this house, and this and that, trying to tell them that, kind of giving him the edge of saying, you're either with me or you're going to be another casualty in this story that I'm going to be making up to the police. But while that was going on, the food that Matt Damon was eating was poisoned, and he ends up dying. So the son is left alone in that house, and that's what I didn't like about the ending, was the son was left alone in that house. You see the boy's uncle come in, and he was calling someone before he died, but you don't know who he called. You'd assume it would be the police, but the police never showed up at that house. The police might have showed up maybe a little bit later, but they didn't show up at all. The police went straight to the colored people's house, the black people's house instead, which is kind of which shows kind of getting into that. I think that with that ending, they're trying to show how they have this big crime in this house, all these dead bodies, all this stuff, and the cops don't go to that house. They go to the black people's house instead, because there's all these people out there rioting and vandalizing and harassing this poor family, but they're not focusing on the family where this father killed all these people, and no one's really focusing on that. They're focusing on this other thing that's going on. That is kind of interesting. I kind of like that in the movie to kind of show this racial tension, but the black family, however, was not well developed. I think that was the biggest issue of this movie was that you don't really know these characters. You don't. I don't even think you know their names. I can't think of any. I can't even think of their names right now. Neither same with the other family. I think none of the names are memorable except for Uncle Mitch because he was the loving uncle to the boy that ended up dying. But it was an interesting movie in that regard. It was kind of enjoyable. I don't think it was the best movie I've seen all year, and I don't think it was one of the Coen brothers' best films that they worked on. I know they didn't direct it, but they did write. They did do the writing for it. But the movie itself was fine. It was enjoyable. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but it was fun. I think if you are looking for a fun movie that's just kind of, you sit down, you eat popcorn, and you just want to just watch something that might be a little bit interesting or unique, this might be that movie, but it's nothing too mind-blowing or, different or anything. I mean, I think it's just kind of an average movie that kind of has a very interesting setting. If you like the 1950s aesthetic, if you like that kind of style, you might enjoy this movie. If you like kind of the Coen brothers type of storytelling, that's fine. I think it holds up as well. The tone as well in the movie, I think, had a hard time. I think a lot of times it wanted to be comedic, wanted to be a dark comedy, but it never really committed to it. Because I think the issue with it is Matt Damon's character. Matt Damon's character was very competent and very straightforward. He knew what he was trying to do, so I don't think the movie allowed any consistent tone. It's not like The Cult of Chucky, where from start to finish, the movie's kind of over the top, and I knew what movie it was. It was just a goofy slasher movie, and it kind of focused on that. This movie, on the other hand, just kind of is at odds with the tone. It's trying to be a dark comedy, but at the same time it comes out very serious, and the comedy falls flat. The only times that I found myself kind of laughing at some of the events are mostly with the outside characters. Nothing with Matt Damon's character except for a scene where he's riding a bicycle, and that's it. Everything and the insurance guy was pretty funny, but other than that, none of the characters were very hilarious or any of the other situations were that funny to begin with. It's not like when you go to see Fargo and you're laughing at the accents, you're laughing at kind of how the characters talk and interact with each other. You don't really see that in this movie. The Fargo-ness just comes from the story itself and how it's kind of paced, but other than that, it's a very average movie. I can't say that it's an amazing movie, a must-see, but it's a movie that if you have the time, if you have, if you just want to see just a movie, this is the movie to see, I guess. But other than that, you're not missing much if you don't have time to see it. Alright, the next movie. I saw the movie about Mark Felt. Mark Felt is the guy who brought down the Nixon administration. He was Deep Throat. The movie is based on true events, obviously, and it was actually really good. It had Liam Neeson in it, and I think Liam Neeson really killed it in this movie. I like Liam Neeson a lot. He's a really good actor. I don't really see a lot of his movies. I've seen like two of the Taken movies, and I saw him as Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars. That great movie. Episode 1 best movie. But Mark Felt is a very good movie. I liked it a lot. I think Liam Neeson really did a good job as Mark Felt. He had a very strong presence. When he's in the scene, he's kind of dominating that scene. Every time he's talking about the FBI, he really has this ethical mentality about it. He's actually sitting there and it's like, look, the FBI has to be unbiased. It can't be, pandering to the White House. It can't be answering to the White House because we have to be, kind of our own entity. We have to act without any leanings or biases. And, as the events were unfolding, the FBI was slowly being guided to be kind of Nixon's organization and to answer to the White House and all this kind of stuff and try to cover up the Watergate incident. And I thought it was very interesting. It was a very interesting movie. It kept your interest. For a movie that has zero action, it's very intense and it's very suspenseful because there are moments where you're just sitting there and you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened. This happened and it's been going on, this and that. Now, of course, some people might say that the movie might have exaggerated some stuff, but it's a movie. it's to be expected, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I thought it made for a good movie. As the movie was very interesting, and to see the events that was going on was very interesting. I thought the acting was good with all the characters. The story was pretty straightforward. There's really nothing to get into with that story except for a few things here and there. The one major criticism I have is the plotline with his daughter. I kind of forgot about that part of the movie when I was watching it. Like when they brought up the daughter multiple times, I kind of didn't realize they were talking about her. I kind of feel like that should have been a little bit more developed or revealed a little bit. They should have talked a little bit more about that. It just kind of felt like a throwaway plot line that was just kind of thrown in there because it happened. It's fine, but it's nothing that's like, if you remove that part of the movie, it doesn't really change the movie. And that's my only complaint is I feel like that it needed a little bit more screen time for it to kind of warrant its existence in this movie, because the main story about Nixon and the Watergate scandal was far more interesting, and I was far more interested to see where that was going than the plotline with the daughter. The other thing I wanted to criticize about this movie this one's a minor criticism, is the lighting. I think the idea was when he was working with the FBI and the events were going through, the film was going to be dark. The lighting was going to be very dark and restrictive to light. It wasn't going to have a lot of light because it was trying to show this dark time in American history, I suppose. And then because by the end of the movie, it was very colorful and bright. But I feel that a lot of times these scenes that were dark just kind of you don't realize the time of day it is, because it blends into night. It doesn't really, you don't know how much time has passed. You don't really feel that time has passed until the movie tells you how much time has passed. I think that these scenes that are trying to convey darkness and secrecy and all this kind of stuff could have been done a little bit better than how they were being treated in this movie. I just thought the lighting was kind of jarring, where it's like, why are these lights so dark? Is the FBI having trouble paying the electric bill? Like, it's weird. But it's a minor nitpick because it was just kind of a thing that you just sit there like, okay, and then you just kind of move on. But this movie ultimately is one of my favorite movies of this year. I would recommend it if you really want to see a movie about Watergate, and in a way, it's kind of perfect timing for what's going on right now in American politics and American government. And it's interesting to watch this movie and see what's going on now. It's depending on where you're leaning, it's interesting because it's interesting to see how the FBI kind of goes about their business, and really, the FBI really can't be being undermined by the president. They really have to be their own entity in a lot of ways. Now, of course, there's a lot of debate with that, I'm sure, but, this is movie talk, I guess. I don't know why I'm going a little bit into this territory, but that's how good this movie is. It really makes you think about the relationship with the FBI, the CIA, and the White House really are, because, it's very unique in that kind of portrayal, because you almost forget about it. You almost forget that the FBI and the CIA are supposed to be these entities that are supposed to be self-efficient. They're supposed to be able to do their work without any obstruction from an outside party, which is very, you almost tend to forget about that by kind of how you think about them, which is weird. But it's a good movie. I really like this movie. I thought Liam Neeson was really good as Mark Felt. Every scene he's in, he feels like he has this powering stance over, and he is just like very like straightforward and hard. He's willing to do whatever it takes to kind of make the FBI kind of stand on its own. He wants the FBI to be on its own. He's such a good actor, and he does the role so well. I recommend this movie. If you really have to pick between this and Suburban Night, I would definitely go with Mark Felt. That is a really good movie, and that's saying something for me, because I'm not a huge fan of these kind of true stories. They're interesting, they're cool, but I haven't seen one that made me really leave the theater and say, wow. This movie was really good. I really liked it. I really, really liked it. I highly recommend it. I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. It's so good. I recommend it. Go see it. Thank you for watching this on the Spot Review. See you next time.